Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream, and thank you so much for tuning in for another show. Day 3 of the Iranian response against the terror attack of the Israeli regime that was carried out several days back, a reckless attack that targeted the Iranian nuclear sites and multiple key figures in the Iranian military establishment. In the past couple of days, we've been covering all of the Iranian attacks, and today we have something different in the Iranian attacks that have been coming on Israel. Firstly, they have now started to attack Israel during the day. They are diversifying the times of the attacks, and Iran is making a wider range of targets that it's totally destroying inside of the state of Israel. The primary targets that we know that Iran targeted so far in the past 24 hours that were very significant were the Leviathan gas field off the shores of the northern part of occupied Palestine, and the Rafael military industrial complex building. That is the main base of the Israeli military industrial complex. They manufacture a lot of weapons, advanced technologies, and it's a vital core a part of the Israeli MIC. So Iran is sending very strong messages. Israel already confirmed that they stopped the manufacturing of the oil and gas inside of Israel due to the attacks, but there have been very significant developments happening today and in the past 24 hours after the damage of yesterday, all of the bombardment that came from Iran, but also important statements that are coming from the Iranian side, more involvement and fears from Israel of countries being involved in the support of Iran, in addition to very surprising statements coming from Benjamin Netanyahu that may well be linked to the situation that we are in at the moment. We will begin with the attack. So this was one of the attacks that was carried out on Haifa today. Let's have a look at this video. So many missiles landing, one of them exploding in that area. There were other videos too, and in the live stream, of course, I will be sharing the majority, if not all, of the videos that came today from all across the occupied territories of all the attacks, including the damage. The Israeli attack began in the afternoon. There were sirens all across of occupied Palestine, and from an Iranian perspective, again, they did not mention too much in relation to the actual places that they are targeting. However, what we do know is that the Iranians, they targeted a gas field called Leviathan. Leviathan is one of the most important gas fields of Israel, alongside the Karish gas field off the shores of the northern part of Palestine. From an Iranian perspective, they are sending clear messages to Israel with those attacks that nothing is off limits for Iran. From an Iranian perspective, everything is open, everything is legitimate, every target is under the Iranian thumb. They can target all of these locations, and they don't have a problem in targeting these locations. And that attack that happened in the Israeli Leviathan, I will share that with you. It was posted shared by an Israeli who lives in the northern part of occupied Palestine. And he shared this video here. Let's have a look. So as you can see in this video, 2 missiles landed in that area initially, and then that's the gas field. You can clearly see that that's not an explosion in an airship or a destroyer or anything. That's the explosion. That's the moment that the Iranian missiles hit the Israeli gas field of Leviathan. They had 2 targets here initially, and that was the landing on the Israeli gas field. That's with an Iranian hypersonic ballistic missile. That shows you a level of accuracy that is extremely advanced. Usually missiles that are intercontinental or ballistic missiles and hypersonic missiles, you will have a radius. Even shorter missiles that the Palestinian Resistance, for example, was using, even though it's incomparable with what Iran has, there's usually a radius of where the missile can land. Sometimes 10 meters, sometimes 100 meters, depending on the distance. So these missiles are being launched from Iran, at least 1,000 to 1,200 kilometers from occupied Palestine, and they are landing accurately in an Israeli gas field. These things are very, very significant. And again, that was just one of the attacks that were carried out last evening throughout the day. And today in the morning, of course, in the afternoon, there were more attacks coming from Iran. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu, we usually see Benjamin Netanyahu having his smug smile, trying to portray an image of victory. He's calling this campaign against Iran a nation like lions, some like that. But that was Benjamin Netanyahu today when he was looking at the damage and destruction that was caused by Iran. He was viewed by some people who saw him coming, and that was his close ally, Itamar Ben-Gvir. Their faces, they're not really showing that these people are happy by what they saw, and we're not really seeing many lions, judging by the responses that are coming from Benjamin Netanyahu. In the meantime, more images were coming today of the damage that took place in Tel Aviv and in Bat Yam from the attacks that were conducted by Iran yesterday, and the level of damage from the Iranian missiles has never been seen before. I mean, especially we're talking about Israel, we have never seen anything like that. Have a look at this image here. This is from Tel Aviv, one of the areas that was attacked in the late hours of last night. Israel was still evacuating. They said 36 people were still under the rubble in multiple parts. They could have been in safe bunkers, and they were taking them out. Approximately 1,000 people, Israel claimed, even though that number could be much higher, by the way. 1,000 people are homeless now. Israel is looking for shelters for them, and organizations are urgently calling for anyone who can help with these people. And the Israeli Security Cabinet yesterday said that they estimated that between 800 to 4,000 people will be killed in total due to the ongoing attacks coming from Iran, and with this current escalation coming between Iran and Israel. Another very important move that Israel did in the past 24 hours is extend the state of emergency up until the 30th of June. And the orders that came from the Home Front Command of Israel, in charge of the safety of people, giving instructions for people what to do, they said the orders remain the same up until Tuesday, which means that they are expecting constant repeated attacks from Iran in the next 24 to 48 hours. That shows you that, firstly, Israel is not looking to de-escalate, at least in the next coming days. And the intensity of the Iranian attack is only getting higher and higher. That's causing a lot of problems for Israelis. Many people are saying in Israel now, well, now we look like Gaza, basically. And many of them are not used to anything as such. In relation to, and that's a very important thing, there were some statements. We're talking about the actual war and the potential of expanding the war. There were many statements around, and comments as well, news about Iran receiving shipments both from China and from Pakistan. There were also confirmations about Chinese warplanes, cargo warplanes, going to certain locations, then diverting to Iran. Israel had reports on this, and there were also other reports coming about this support coming both from Pakistan and from China, also Russia, but primarily in this report here, China and Pakistan, which raised eyebrows in Israel because they're very concerned about more countries participating. And before I go into that, one thing that's very important to note here, the fact that Israel is conducting this attack without any other country declaring that it's participating with Israel, and today more confirmations coming from the United States that they told Israel, we're not going to participate with you in this attack, is a huge failure. Previously, the Israelis and the Americans used to say that they are looking to establish a coalition against Iran. They were saying, oh yeah, we want to, have the Arabs against Iran, we will have the Sunnis against the Shias, all of that garbage, typical, a divide and rule policy of the colonialists, who many foolishly were following for their own either sectarian or racist reasons. But in recent years, that has changed massively. And Benjamin Netanyahu annihilated Israeli diplomacy and attempts to try and reach an agreement with Saudi Arabia to a level where the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, made very strong statements against the attack on Iran, supporting Iran firmly, condemning the Israeli attack, and also saying that the Muslim world needs to be united against all of these attacks. This is something that changed extremely in recent years. Of course, the Chinese with Oman, they had a mediation between Iran and Saudi Arabia in 2023, which succeeded. And the Iranians and Saudis started to increase their ties to levels where they had even military drills together. The Saudi defense minister was in Iran several weeks back in a historic visit that didn't happen for at least a decade, with such a level of a senior individual coming from Saudi Arabia to Iran. But the fact that this is happening now is a huge blow for Israel, which should not be underestimated. Many people pass these things and do not mention them because there's a lot of psychological warfare happening at the moment by, of course, on the Zionist side, the Zionists and their mouthpieces, and the defeatists as well, trying to undermine what's happening from Iran, despite the fact that we're talking about historical attacks, massive scale, huge damage in Israel. But on this front, the United States, Israel's biggest ally, not participating directly. Israel has no alliance whatsoever. Countries only trying to say that, oh yeah, we call them to de-escalate. Now even the British Prime Minister is saying, we call on Iran and Israel to kind of de-escalate. Of course, mind you, the level of hypocrisy, rather than condemn the reckless Israeli barbarism against Iran, targeting a nuclear facility, risking radiation and everything involved in that, alongside, of course, their continued genocide in Gaza and all of their crimes against humanity ever since their inception. All of that is showing you a huge failure. And this is the article that was published in Israel, and Channel 14 in Israel was speaking about this as well. An air train to Tehran, these are the countries that arm the Iranians, and they're saying that as fact in Israeli media, by the way. According to reports, transport planes that took off from China landed today in an airport in the Iranian capital. At the same time, convoys of trucks crossing the Pakistan-Iran border were recorded on social media, moving from the Pakistani side to the Iranian territory. And they continued, new reports raised concerns that Iran is receiving logistical or military assistance from other countries amid rising tensions following the Israeli attack as part of Operation Kalavi. According to the reports, transport planes from China landed at Tehran airport today. despite the damage to the city's main airport on Friday in an Israeli attack. At the same time, convoys of trucks crossing the Pakistan-Iran border were recorded on social media moving from the Pakistani side to the Iranian territory. It is unclear at this stage what the planes and trucks were carrying, but estimates are that these were not routine civilian flights, especially in light of the damage to Iranian aviation infrastructure. The landing of the planes from China raises suspicions of logistical or military assistance to the Iranian, and especially in light of China's statements against the Israeli attack. On Friday, a spokesman of the Chinese Foreign Ministry said that Beijing opposes actions that violate Iran's sovereignty and territorial integrity. They also reinforced the position in strongly condemning the Israeli operation and said that they support Iran fully in protecting its national interests and protecting itself from such attacks. The reports about the Pakistani trucks moving, there were reports that they were helping Iran with missiles. Now, Iran might not really need any missiles now because the Iranian capability in terms of missiles is unmatched in the region. Their arsenal of strategic missiles is exceptionally large. There are only estimates out there, but the Iranians have been preparing for 4 decades for moments like these to prepare and have a strategic attack and a strategic capability against a country like Israel, and also against potential attacks from other countries too. So these moves that are coming both from China and from Pakistan, some statements that are coming from the Arab and Muslim states too, they are being heard on the other side. And the United States still, until now, is not showing that it's interested in participating in this. As a matter of fact, the American president was open to attempts of mediation coming from the Russian President Vladimir Putin and the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Now, moving on to the other attacks and the other targets of Iran in Israel. Israel was targeting nuclear scientists. They were targeting important sites for the nuclear projects of Iran. Iran, as a response, they targeted the Wiseman Institute, and Israel confirmed that they had a lot of damage to this institute. So we had this report in a few, not many, by the way, media outlets in Israel. Multiple buildings at the Wiseman Institute damaged in Iranian attack. The Institute of Science reports that several buildings on its campus sustained damage during early morning missile barrage launched by Iran towards central Israel. Now, no images came from this location, which indicates that the damage is very, very severe. And this institute is exceptionally important, if not the most important institute in Israel, that focuses on bringing scientists, major scientists from Israel to support the country and to support the country globally, to promote and support and increase Israel's strength in terms of the military-industrial complex and in all arenas too. So Iran is carefully targeting locations, and they are very, very calculated. Now, in these attacks that are happening now with Iran, we have Ansarullah participating in these attacks. There is an increased coordination coming between Iran and Yemen. So Yemen, of course, has been participating to support the Palestinians in the past 2 years, relentlessly supporting, despite the genocide coalition being formed initially to protect Israel. And now we reached the stage where they had a deal with the United States, and they're left with Israel with back and forth attacks. That exhausted Israel's military attempts, and they started to attack Yemen, not only by the air, but also by the sea. And Yemen is constantly attacking. Now we've had this report coming from Ansarullah that they targeted a sensitive Israeli enemy targets in occupied Jaffa. And there was a statement coming from the spokesperson of Ansarullah, Yahya Sari', that the Yemenis are standing with Gaza, with Iran, and with all of the Muslim and Arab countries that will be facing an Israeli aggression. It's like Yemen is that country that stands with each country as it gets attacked or oppressed. Now they're saying we are with Iran as well, we're supporting Iran, and we are attacking to also defend not only Gaza, but Iran too. Yemen has been showing relentless, continuous support for the Palestinian resistance in Gaza, and now they are proving that they are also standing with Iran in this attack. Now, Israel was saying that they targeted missile launchers, they targeted Iran's air defense systems, they targeted this and targeted that. Now, undeniably, Israel did have successes in the targets that they wanted in Iran. That's something undeniable. However, to what level was it successful, and is it exactly as Israel is portraying? Well, yesterday I spoke about the Iranian deception moves to try and put like these dummy missile launchers so that Israel can attack them. And today, multiple accounts from Israel were posting videos of these locations that Israel attacked. I could not verify them from the direct source, but some of the sources inside of Israel that try and bypass, all of the issues that they have there, they published this video here of the Iranians recording some of these dummy missile launchers that they planted there in broad daylight so that Israel can go and attack them. And really and truly, they were made out of aluminium, and some of them were made out of wood. And Israel was targeting these locations. Secondly, so Iran played a very big game in terms of deception because they were preparing for an Israeli attack. So they wanted them to attack these dummy missile launchers or dummy air defense systems so that they can exhaust their missiles and their efforts and their drones and their F-35s, and so that Iran can be well prepared for any other attacks, and so that Israel can have less of a capacity to conduct attacks against the places that it actually wants to target in Iran. Another thing that the Israelis and that the propaganda mainstream and corporate media was saying is that, and Israel is still until now saying that we destroyed all of the Iranian air defense system and now we are enjoying full freedom of movement in Iranian airspace. It's part of their psychological warfare. They are blatant liars. Why? Because the Iranians, they're still publishing videos of their air defense systems operating So as we can see, not only that the Iranian air defense systems are functional, multiple air defense systems are functional because Iran has a 3-layer air defense system: short range, medium, and long range. And in this video, we can clearly see one of the missiles hitting the target, whether it was an Israeli drone or an Israeli projectile, because Israel is using a wide array of things in these attacks. Israel is not having a traditional attack against Iran, and Israel clearly modified and updated its attack capabilities and its attack strategies, at least in the past year and a half, because they knew they had certain weaknesses. So unlike what Israel used to historically do in its attacks, which is traditionally they have an air force superiority, so they will carry out strikes and then as a matter of fact, Israel's main war strategy was the shock and awe war, very fast in the enemy line. We target them and then we get the mission accomplished. We go back, no harm to Israel's economy, no harm to the Israeli people's security, nothing as such. Now they are diversifying drones, UAVs, cruise missiles, and other projectiles apart from the Israeli Air Force. As a matter of fact, there's a very good reason to believe that the level of participation from the Israeli Air Force is nowhere near what Israel was mentioning, like 200 fighter jets all at once over Iran. Why? Because, the Iranians said that they already took down 3 F-35s, the first country in the world to take down the first F-35, let alone 3, despite advanced stealth capabilities and modification for the long-range attack without the need to refuel. These are 2 things that Israel and the United States did in a joint way, in a joint cooperation, where they modified their F-35s so that they do not need any refueling and so that they can conduct long-range attacks without the need for this extra hassle, extra refueling, and all of that. But Iran, despite that, they took down 3 of them, and according to sources from Iran, they took 2 into captivity. That's in relation to the Iranian defense systems. And today, Israel was carrying out more attacks against Iran. One of them was another reckless terrorist attack near the Imam Reza holy shrine in Mashhad. And there were also reports of over a dozen car bomb attacks inside of Tehran. So Israel is using an ISIS-style terror attack against Iran. Car bombs in the middle of civilian places. This is what Israel is doing now, because clearly, and despite their denial, they can deny as much as they like, and that's why we're here to show you exactly what's happening. They are not having that freedom that they wanted in Iran. They're not having this freedom that they're trying to convince themselves that they have in Iran. And they're also very aware that they are unable to reach any of their causes. Like, have you noticed, did Israel talk about military objectives in this attack against Iran? They haven't. Why? Because they know they're not going to achieve anything. The only thing that they were talking about is eliminating the nuclear project. Well, eliminating the nuclear project, even with that, it's like kind of semi-official, by the way. It's not like an official war objective, because, the war objective in Gaza was to eliminate the Hamas. We saw exactly how that's happening in Gaza. Now, let me tell you now about the Palestinian resistance. But in relation to Iran, they're clearly very frustrated. They don't know what they're going to do. They don't have the right missiles and equipment. They don't have the B-2 bombers or the Spirit B-52s and the heavy bunker busters that the United States has, and they're not receiving authorization from the United States to use them. And even if they do use them, by the way, their effectiveness would be in question because of how deep some of the Iranian factories are under mountains. So they would have to cross mountains and the height of the mountain, and then how much underground they go to. Yeah, they can target the openings and the endings of these locations, but not the actual project itself, not the actual whole campaign. Plus, what do you think you know about the Iranian nuclear project? What you have been told only. I was speaking about the Palestinian resistance, and let me tell you what the Palestinian resistance has done. The Palestinian resistance has been excelling, by the way, in the past couple of days, and there were reports of Israeli withdrawal of a certain number of their forces from the Gaza Strip, and these were non-official, by the way, and a deployment in Syria, Lebanon, and on the Jordanian borders too. But that was unofficial. It didn't come in official. The only thing that Israel confirmed today is the IDF spokesperson said that the head of unit was targeted in Gaza. That's one out of very many, because these are the Palestinian attacks that came today. So that was only coming from Al-Qassam brigades. They are increasing the attacks of the occupation forces. They targeted 2 Merkavas. That's in the past 48 hours. They targeted 2 Merkavas, 2 APCs, armed personnel carriers. They targeted the kibbutz Nirim with a missile. They're launching missiles from Gaza. They targeted an Israeli genocide soldier from zero distance. They sniped a D9 bulldozer driver. They targeted groups of Israeli genocide soldiers with mortar shells, and they also detonated a minefield in a rescue force, and they took all of them down. All of them have been either killed or wounded. That's the Palestinian resistance in Gaza. That is the Palestinian resistance in Gaza that has been attacked with over 100,000 tons of TNT, more than Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II, and you name it, the level of destruction. Yet the Palestinian resistance always rises like the phoenix from under the rubble to put the heads of the Israeli terrorists in the sand of Gaza. And Benjamin Netanyahu is getting very, very frustrated with that. But Benjamin Netanyahu made a very peculiar statement today. Benjamin Netanyahu said all of a sudden that he sees a breakthrough. He sees an opening. There's a breakthrough to get to a ceasefire agreement all of a sudden. So he made a statement a few days, before the escalation with Iran. I spoke about it at the time. But now all of a sudden he's making this statement, but some people are unhappy. So with the statement, let's have a look. Benjamin Netanyahu identified an opening or a breakthrough in the negotiations. But the families of the prisoners of war, they're saying that, well, Netanyahu initially said, I will not give up until we get everyone back. I gave instructions in advance to the negotiations because I identify a certain opening or breakthrough. Hostage Families Forum said that the families of male and female hostages are scarred by promises and statements not backed by actions and results. Each such statement throws them into emotional turmoil and stretches their already tense nerves. Prime Minister, prove that you are serious in your intentions and that your words match your heart. Announced today about sending a negotiation delegation to Doha as soon as possible. So the families of the prisoners of war are very reluctant. They're not very quick to believe Benjamin Netanyahu. Yet, Benjamin Netanyahu is still making these statements. Now, moving on back to the escalation between Iran and the United States and the Israeli regime. The armed forces made a warning. They gave a warning to the Israelis today. Leave. Occupied territories will not be inhabitable soon. Iran's armed forces have warned people in Israel to leave the Israeli occupied territories while they can, as punitive Iranian strikes will continue targeting the entire Israeli-held territories. Warnings for you in the coming days: leave the occupied territories because certainly they won't be inhabitable in the future. That was from Colonel Reza Sayyad, the spokesperson of the armed forces, after a wave of new strikes coming. He reminded the Israelis that the armed forces have repeatedly over the past days targeted sensitive sites in Israel and are in possession of an exhaustive bank of targets, including military and security sites, decision-making centers, and the residences of Israeli commanders and military scientists. So you see these buildings that Iran is attacking, and these locations that you see, many of them could be buildings that have the addresses and the home addresses of all of the officials and scientists and politicians that Iran has. These locations, yes, they will tell you that, okay, they targeted a civilian building, for example. Who lives in that civilian building? Iran has that intel. As a matter of fact, Hezbollah had that intel. Hezbollah was showing Israelis when they were participating last year how much they know and how much information. So Iran, from their perspective, they're open to assassinating people directly and also targeting senior officials as well. Another very important statement came today from Mohsen Razai. Mohsen Razai was the previous head, a previous senior figure in the IRGC, if I'm not mistaken, and now he is a member of Iran's Expediency Council, one of the most senior advisory boards for the Iranian supreme leader and the establishment of the leadership in Iran. He made this statement in an interview with a couple of very interesting words from him. He said that the war will continue until the defeat of the Zionist entity, and our military surprises have not yet begun. So what we saw so far in the missiles and the attacks that I'm going to show you in a bit, by the way, I still haven't got to the videos bit, but I'll get there. We said we haven't begun, despite all of that. The war with the Zionist entity is likely to continue for weeks. He emphasized that what has happened so far represents only the beginning of Iran's response. In a televised statement, his first in military uniform since the start of the confrontation with the Israeli enemy, Razai explained that the weapons used so far belong to the old generation, noting that the real surprises have yet to be revealed, and what awaits the enemy is greater and more devastating. He added that Iran has not yet demonstrated any of its qualitative capabilities, warning that the country is facing a confrontation with an international coalition, calling for full preparation for this critical stage. So from an Iranian perspective, they are prepared for the formation of a coalition against them, and their allies are prepared for such coalition to be formed, despite the fact that the Iranian response is very wisely calculated and is only targeting Israel, not any American forces. But the American forces are under a very, very big threat coming from Iraq, which I will get to you after this. Then an Iranian source also mentioned that the Islamic Republic of Iran has not yet resorted to using its advanced and strategic arsenal in the recent military responses to the Israeli aggression, noting that what has been used so far represents only a limited portion of the country's defensive and offensive capabilities. The source explained that among the advanced weapons that have not yet been used are the Fatih II missile, the new generation Sijil, and the Khorram Shahr missile with 2-ton warhead, which the Iranian armed forces have stockpiled for use in confronting any future potential aggression. If Iran and what it sent yesterday was not like even the biggest or strongest missile, then what's coming is far, far more dangerous. And the Iranians are saying that they're still practicing restraint, by the way, according to the same statement from the official that I just quoted. Now, I told you about the American forces and the Americans, as in the American officials, Trump administration. They have problems. The problems are, well, Israel is trying to drag them. Israel is trying to drag them into this. There were reports in the past couple of days that Israel officially asked the United States to participate. Some reports by, Zionist-aligned people, they said that the United States is considering it. However, today, Donald Trump again denied. Donald Trump said that we're not planning to participate with Israel in a report that came in the American ABC. And as a matter of fact, he's talking to Putin. He had a 1-hour conversation with Vladimir Putin, and he told him that he supports the idea of Vladimir Putin trying to mediate between Iran and Israel. But Iran still hasn't used all of its cards, and many Iranian allies still haven't participated with anything, by the way, in any of the parts. So far, we're just seeing in Iran-Israel confrontation. And by the way, one thing that's very, very important is Israel is now considering Iran the first front. Israel's front now, main front is Iran, not Gaza. This is unprecedented. This is the first time that Israel does this. Even when there was an escalation with Lebanon and Hezbollah was pounding Israel with hundreds of missiles every single day, Israel was still considering Gaza to be the most important front. But now that has changed. 19 months, 20 months almost into the genocide in Gaza, Gaza is not Israel's primary front. Iran is. They're begging the Americans to participate, and they are sending many messengers to Iran to beg the Iranians to stop, despite the fact that they are claiming the opposite. Typical lies from hyper-pathological liars. Now, there was a statement from an armed group in Iraq called Kataib Hezbollah, or the Brigade of Hezbollah in Iraq, which is again an armed movement that is supported by Iran. They made an important statement today. They threatened Washington if it intervenes against Iran. The Hezbollah brigades in Iraq affirmed support for the Islamic Republic of Iran in its war against the Israeli occupation and its backer, the United States, stating that Iran does not need any military support from anyone to deter Israel. A confirmation coming from the Hezbollah brigades of Iraq that Iran doesn't need anyone's help to attack Israel, showing that Iran is very capable, but saying that if the United States decides to help, then we will attack United States bases. How serious is this threat, and how likely are they to hit the United States bases and interests? Well, it is extremely serious. Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq, or the brigades of Hezbollah in Iraq, they previously attacked as part of the popular mobilization forces after Donald Trump unilaterally withdrew from the nuclear agreement with Iran. They attacked the green zone where the United States embassy is. At the time, Mike Pompeo was seriously considering to remove every remaining American from Iraq and saying, I just don't want to have anything to do with the region. Things started to de-escalate later on. However, they have capacity, they have attacked, and they had lethal attacks against the United States forces in Iraq. Therefore, the United States views this as a very serious threat. Why? Because from a US perspective, they're going to be putting themselves in the ring of fire for the sake of a genocidal entity. Then that isn't going to do anything to Iran's capability in continuing to attack Israel, because the brigades of Hezbollah in Iraq will be the ones mostly doing the targeting of the United States bases. And when it comes to the United States base, like, what does it require? A few drones, a few missiles. From an Iranian perspective, it's not like Iran has to participate with them in such an attack. But this shows you the big potential of things escalating, and showing you how prepared multiple sides are for this escalation. The United States, some of Israel's allies, although there's a very high level of reluctance, to be fair, which is a total failure coming from Israel. When you usually go to a war and decide to go for an escalation, you need to sell it, you need to market it, you need to convince people, you need to bring more people to your side. However, Israel has done so much self-harm in the past year and a half that now we are at a level where globally people around the world are celebrating an Iranian attack against Israel. Yes, it's a responsive measure. Yes, Israel started. However, who thought that would happen 2 or 3 years ago? No one would have even thought about this. Now, globally, everyone is celebrating Iran. People tell you, I usually don't even like violence and what this is, but I couldn't help but feel happy seeing these people being punished for the level of crimes and barbarism that they conducted in the Gaza genocide, killing infants, killing individuals, over 20,000 children over 60,000 people, tens of thousands under the rubble, and destroying everything inside of the Gaza Strip. So China's ready, sending arms to Iran. Pakistan is ready, fully backing. Iran reports that they will also, or may well also, participate in case things escalate to that level, because again, I know we are at war now between Israel and Iran. However, the participation of foreign countries depends on the scale and the level of intensity taking place. So that doesn't really mean that they need to participate. It depends on how far things go, if unconventional weapons are going to start being used, if Israel considers anything chemical or biological, for example, or nuclear, in case it reaches that stage. Another thing that Iran confirmed, which is very important to understand because of the propaganda that's happening now from Israel, the Iranian border forces, and that confirms that Iran is active on its borders, not just internally, waiting for Israeli attacks too. We had this report in Iran. Iranian border guards shoot down 44 Israeli drones in 48 hours. Brigadier General Ahmad Ali Gudarzi, commander of Iran's Faraja border guard, said that the drones were destroyed after being detected on Iran's borders. In the past 48 hours, 44 drones and micro UAVs of the usurping Zionist regime that attempted to enter our airspace were tracked and destroyed by the vigilant border guards of Faraja, Gudarzi said in a statement on Sunday. He described the Iranian border units as fully prepared and on a high operational alert. Our brave border guards are fully ready to defend the Islamic Republic of Iran's borders and will forcefully respond to any intrusion by terrorist groups, armed smugglers, or hostile agents. Gudarzi emphasized that Iran's border forces maintain complete intelligence oversight and remain steadfast in safeguarding the security and sovereignty of the country. He also reaffirmed unity with other branches of Iran's armed forces, vowing a decisive response to any threats near the borders. This is confirming that Iran is not only active in defense inside of Iranian territories, but also on the borders, preparing for any attack coming from Israel as and when it comes. This, combined with the interceptions that are happening internally inside of Iran, and all of the image, all of the footage, all of the confirmation that's happening, clearly prove that Iran has a capacity, and Iran is successfully conducting a very, very high-level defense campaign alongside its attacks on Israel. Now, let's go to the live updates and the attacks that came throughout the day. Firstly, sirens as we speak are being heard and have been heard for the past several minutes in Israel from the almost most northern part of occupied Palestine up to just an area just above Eilat, approximately 50-60 kilometers over Eilat. This is a very, very dangerous situation. And by the way, I spoke with you about the Wiseman Institute that Iran attacked, one of the most important research center. I had an image, I cannot personally verify it, but this image is coming online about the damage for the first time since the morning, because there was a lot of suppression and censorship. This was the damage according to some accounts on social media, so that no one takes it as, a confirmation. This is how the institute was before, and this is how it looks now following the Iranian attack on it. Now, let's go to some of the attacks that took place today. This was, there was an attack coming from the Iranian forces on Haifa. And I wanted to share one of these videos with you. The other attacks. Let's have a look at this video over here for one of the attacks that took place in Haifa, with the sky full of Iranian missiles landing on the city. Let's have. So this was one of the attacks that took place in Haifa, and there were many more videos coming out of several attacks taking place in the city. This was one of them, clearly showing an attack happening on an area on the mountains of Haifa, towards the southern part of the mountains of Haifa. Clearly, Iran had a target there, and this was the attack that happened. I'll share it with you in a sec. Let's have a look. This is another attack that took place in Haifa. More videos came as well, and I'll be sharing the majority of the videos that happened. Israel also said that, you know, there was that there are very sensitive locations that have been hit. As a matter of fact, there were also videos circulating about the level of damage that happened in Haifa after the attacks. This was one of them. And of course, there were also other videos. Let me share some of them with you. And of course, then we will go to the current escalation and the recent sirens that were heard, and how likely is it to go on throughout the night, because so far Iran had approximately 3 rounds. This was another view of the missiles, or one of the missiles that landed in Haifa. Let's have a look. So again, very, 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 very intense attacks taking place today in the northern part of occupied Palestine, with Iran pounding the north and the central part with huge explosions. And these are just some of the videos. There are more videos that I wanted to share with you from multiple other attacks and from other parts to that Israel, that targeted Israel. This was This was another one. Here, let's have a look.
بعرض اختي في واحد نزل فوق. بعرض اختي فوق 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 غاد. يا قوم.
So this was another one of the attacks, and you can listen to the intensity of the explosion from a very, very far distance too. Several more videos came of fires taking place in Tel Aviv after Iran carried out more strikes in the Tel Aviv area. This was one of them over here. And there were more scenes coming of the damage happening in an area called Kiryat Gat following the Iranian missile attack earlier on. Let's have a look.
Fuck.
And these were the majority of the videos that came earlier on about the fires, the attacks in multiple parts in the north and in the central part. This was one of them here as well. You can see huge fires after many attacks in the north and the central parts of occupied Palestine. Now, these were some of the videos that I wanted to share with you here. Then, there were more videos being published by the Palestinian Resistance. Before I spoke with you about the Palestinian Resistance and its 8 operations that they conducted in the past 48 hours. They also published a video today of them monitoring Zionist occupation forces inside of the Gaza Strip, trying to hide in a certain part and them monitoring them and taking them down. This was one of 8 operations that the Palestinians conducted in the past 48 hours. This was the video that they published. Clearly, the Palestinian Resistance monitoring all of the genocide soldiers inside of the Gaza Strip, trying to go into one of the buildings in the genocide campaign, and the Palestinian Resistance, we're talking about live footage. So it's not like a camera that was planted there. They were actively there, live, in person, recording what they're doing, which means, and here they launch Yasin 105 RPG on the force, and judging by, you know, the intensity of this, there's serious casualties over there, with a very high likelihood of someone being killed by this attack. This is proving that the Palestinian Resistance, again, and here they took down some of the ground troops too, is operating freely over the ground inside of Gaza. And Benjamin Netanyahu, now that he's declaring that, you know, the main operation and the main confrontation is happening in Iran and Gaza, and now a secondary front, he's leading his genocide troops into oblivion. Benjamin Netanyahu was already facing catastrophes inside of the Gaza Strip, and now he's going to face even more problems. Yesterday, Iran also attacked with very, very severe missiles. Today, the morning came and we saw some of the damage that took place. This was one of the videos that was published about the level of damage that happened in Israel following the Iranian attack.
הקומה השלישית נרסה כליל, נרסה כליל. תסתכלו מה זה. תסתכלו איזה הרס מהטיל. חמש בבוקר. תסתכלו את ההרס.
Again, this destruction is from the missiles that landed yesterday. And now, again, there were more sirens that we will talk about in a sec, but this was from the damage of the missiles that Iran landed yesterday. Have another look at this.
הקומה השלישית נרסה כליל, נרסה כליל. תסתכלו מה זה. תסתכלו איזה הרס מהטיל. זה פיקוד העורף פה. 5 בבוקר. תסתכלו את ההרס. תסתכלו מה זה. זאת הקומה השלישית. נרסה כליל, נרסה כליל. תסתכלו מה זה. תסתכלו איזה הרס מהטיל. זה פיקוד העורף פה. 5 בבוקר.
Now, one very important development that is now being reported, apart from the fact that Iran is now carrying out another wave of attacks on the occupied territories, on the Israeli regime, there were reports circulating in Iraqi media, on social media, of the Iraqi air defense systems now being operated against Israel. This is something that we haven't seen before. The United States has a lot of control over Iraqi airspace, and they were the ones who were allowing the Israeli regime to participate and attack Iran, fly over Iraqi airspace. Yet despite that, the Israelis always chose, historically and now, if they wanted to attack towards the east, to go through the Syrian-Jordanian border. They did that in 2024 in the initial response after True Promise 1. They did that again multiple times, but the Americans gave them freedom of movement. Now, clearly, there's something happening in Iraq that is changing. Of course, we've had the threat coming from the Hezbollah brigades in Iraq. If the Americans participate, will destroy the bases. Clearly, there is a lot of anger happening in Iraq over the participation of Iraq in this, or allowing, Iraq to be used as a place where the genocide can go, the genocide forces can go and attack Iraq. But now, more and more videos coming from Iraq showing that there are interceptions happening. This was one of the videos, and I'll just share it here with you.
هذا قصف على الطائرات.
Now, this was just one of the videos that were circulating online about the Iraqis intercepting missiles and projectiles coming from Israel. In the meantime, we've had important updates happening in the past several minutes. There was a statement that came from the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi. He said, almost all countries in the region condemned the Israeli aggression. We were speaking about the huge diplomatic failure and PR failure of Israel and the United States, the lack of any coalition with this, and countries siding by Iran, including the Saudis. And here, the Iranian foreign minister is also mentioning Saudi Arabia again. Almost all countries in the region condemned the Israeli aggression, and the Saudi foreign minister was the first to contact me. That's very, very significant. Countries that had so many hostilities, he was the first one to reaffirm, standing with him, that they all back Iran in defending itself, and that the Muslim countries should come together. The fire ignited by Israel may get out of control. We've heard several statements in the past 48 hours of Iran using restraint. Iran using, not all of its capabilities, and trying to, despite all of what we saw, by the way, which was, huge, they're saying we still haven't unleashed everything. But now they're saying the fire ignited by Israel may get out of control, and clearly Iran is prepared for such scenario, and the countries around Iran are starting to prepare for that scenario, because they realize that that's it. The fire that they were always trying to avoid is starting to bite them, and many of them for their constant lack of action, thinking they can be safe if they don't do anything. He also said that our brave armed forces are completely and competently providing the country its security that it's needing. This is the latest statement that came from Abbas Araghchi. Another report that came from Israeli media is that Israel now is expecting the recent attack, based on the sirens that were heard just several minutes ago, to be from Yemen as well. This is just coming in now. The Israelis are saying that they're expecting Yemen to be participating with this attack. And they're asking everyone in Israel now as well to stay next to safe places and bunkers as well. Now, for the first time, and this is mentioned for the first time in Israel, one of the analysts in the Israeli Channel 13 is asking the Home Front Command to evacuate Tel Aviv. For the first time, Israeli Channel 13, one of the analysts in Israel, this is an Israeli mainstream media, he is asking for an evacuation order for Tel Aviv. This is the first time that we're hearing that Tel Aviv, and people are asking for Tel Aviv to be evacuated. There were the evacuations in the areas surrounding Gaza after Al-Aqsa flood began, then evacuation. So that's approximately 125,000 though, areas surrounding Gaza, towns and what have you. Lebanon too, 80,000, then led to more than that. But Tel Aviv, hundreds of thousands all at once. That's something that's being mentioned now in Israeli mainstream media. Another thing that Iran mentioned today, by the way, by the head of the ideological political office of the commander-in-chief. He mentioned that, and this was reported by the Tasnim news agency. He said that the recent barrage against Israeli positions showcased only a portion of Iran's capabilities, warning that more advanced technologies remain untapped. So despite the fact that Iran introduced newer missiles to the scene yesterday, he's confirming that that's not all of it. So despite the fact that they introduced new missiles, they haven't used all of the missiles that they have. This came from the head of the ideological political office of the commander-in-chief in Iran. And that's very important, because at the end of the day, if those missiles that landed in the past couple of days, if that's only some of it, then, well, what else can Iran do? Are we talking about something even bigger than that? The missiles that were landing were huge. I mean, this recent missile that landed today, for example, again, let me show you this video here for those of you who haven't seen it. This was one of the missiles that landed on Haifa today. Have another look.
طلع هون طلع هون نزل طلع هذاك الصبوش نزل ولعت الحيفا شرب ولعت الحيفا عم تسوق طلع هون طلع هون نزل طلع هذاك الصبوش نزل ولعت الحيفا شرب ولعت الحيفا عم تسوق طلع هون طلع هون نزل طلع هذاك الصبوش نزل ولعت الحيفا شرب ولعت الحيفا عم تسوق طلع هون طلع هون نزل طلع هذاك الصبوش نزل ولعت الحيفا شرب ولعت الحيفا عم تسوق طلع هون طلع هون نزل طلع هذاك الصبوش نزل
So if Iran is saying that these missiles are not the heaviest missiles, and especially another one that caused severe damage as well, one of the ones that they landed yesterday, clearly with a much higher speed than the other missiles that Iran is using, then what are they going to bring? Look at this missile here. So it's gonna be even more dangerous than what we saw so far, and clearly from an Iranian perspective, they know exactly what they're talking about. Those missiles that were landing, and here we have another one of the missiles that landed on Haifa today. You're talking about something that we haven't seen before. Now, all of this, by the way, and the Israeli authorities are still censoring. So what we need to understand is that all of these videos that are coming and circulating now are videos that some people managed to record and publish, but these are not all of the missiles, and this is not all of the damage that Israel has suffered. Because from an Israeli perspective, some of the reports that they mentioned actually, and they confirmed in mainstream media, is that very sensitive and strategic places have been targeted. But apart from that, they did not mention much more than that. Now, from an Iranian perspective, they refrain from saying anything about any of the attacks up until hours later. And in a way, it looks like Iran, they're letting the people see rather than talk. So they want the people to see the actual damage rather than them talking about the damage too much, or where they're targeting or what they're targeting, so that they prove what they can do. Now, we spoke about the damage that happened from yesterday's attacks too, and now we're still waiting to get more updates about the attacks that happened today. This was some of the damage that happened in Bat Yam from one missile. One Iranian missile caused the damage that you're going to see in this video. Let's have a look. So as you can see, huge damage coming from Israel today. And there were other videos as well from the immense damage that happened. And in all of these locations, by the way, you're talking about one Iranian missile. For example, have a look at this here. Again, a huge damage coming, and there were more and more recordings coming from today. Now, we spoke about the Iranian missiles and the potential that Iran will be using, and them confirming today that, you know, we still haven't used, or we still haven't tapped some technologies. Some technologies remain untapped. And what we've used so far is the old technology, older generation stuff. Remember, because everything is moving really fast, but let's remember that images like this, for example, only came yesterday. This only happened yesterday. In case you haven't seen. Now, if these were the missiles that Iran has, firstly, way more of, you know, if some technology remains untapped, that means they have a huge arsenal of these. So, you know, the other missiles that they have, that they emptied, or trying to empty, not emptied, you know, they're still getting through some of the older missiles. And we're talking about thousands upon thousands, by the way. In the case of Iran, Iran has a huge arsenal of missiles. I mean, what Iran has is unbelievable numbers of ballistic, hypersonic and ballistic missiles too, because they've been preparing themselves for so many years now. And again, for when we're talking about these missiles too, this was, look at the speed. Again, we're talking about some of them that landed yesterday, and now we're monitoring the new ones. We're trying to monitor anything coming from now too. This was also one of them.
اظن نزل علينا تعال يو اظن نزل علينا تعال يو اظن نزل علينا تعال يو اظن نزل علينا تعال يو.
So again, you're talking about unbelievable speed. This is not like your normal speed. It's as if someone put it in fast forward rather than having any normal missile. Now, let's move on to the latest updates about all of the missiles and all of the attacks that are coming now, because Israel said that they are preparing now for an attack coming from both Iran and Yemen as well. Israeli citizens as well, they're criticizing the state. Now, Israel always talks about, hiding in civilian, Hamas uses people as human shields and all of the garbage, Zio propaganda. So one of the Israelis was mentioning this here that Al-Mayadeen posted. The defense minister hides behind civilians in the central part of the city Tel Aviv, and then he blames the Iranians for shooting on civilian buildings. Me and my children is just secondary damage for him. So the Israelis are now already mocking the Israeli leadership. They're showing maps of Israel and how many security bases and iron domes and military bases and missiles and IDF and intelligence and security, the Kiryat itself, the hub, all of these locations in that area. And she's saying that the Minister of Defense is hiding behind civilians in central Tel Aviv, and then blaming Iranians for shooting against civilian targets. And me and my children are like secondary damage for him. As a matter of fact, one of the videos that one of the people recorded in Tel Aviv was actually him being surprised that there's an iron dome next to his house. So yesterday and today, some people all of a sudden started to see iron dome systems working from random places. And in many cases, they did not know, because Israel has designated and known locations of iron dome because, some places are strategic and they know that they're going to be attacked. So the people know as well. But of course, it's usually, Israel usually has a very good attempt to try and hide it as much as possible. But yesterday and today, people were documenting some of these attacks, being shocked that there is an iron dome just next to their house. And they were like, how can our country have an iron dome system next to a civilian building, firstly, without telling the people, secondly, during time of war, thirdly, having a risk of it being targeted. And one of the videos was of this man over here. So that was one of the people that was surprised that there is an Iron Dome system next to the place where he lives. Because, like I said, people usually, they know if they have an Iron Dome system next to them and what have you. But this man didn't know. And this here is another video of the one of the latest missiles as well. Now, let's move on to the latest updates from the media, coming from Israeli sources and Palestinian sources as well. The Israelis are confirming or claiming that they're targeting military bases in central Iran. Surface-to-surface missiles. Yet, nothing is affecting all of the missiles that are, of course, landing in Israel. And Iran is also saying now that they just targeted 2 UAVs coming from Israel. Then a very important report came today from multiple sources and Reuters too, said that Iran, because many people are talking about the fact that, well, there were negotiations between the United States and Iran, what's going to happen on that front. There was a report today in Reuters and in other networks too that Iran has told Qatar and Oman that it is not open to negotiating a ceasefire while it is under Israeli attacks. Iran says that we're not negotiating so long as there are Israeli attacks. Now, there was an initial report previously of the Iranian foreign minister saying that we're not meeting the Americans on Sunday, despite the fact that the Americans wanted to. But now we had this report here. Iran has told Qatar and Oman that it is not open to negotiating a ceasefire while it is under Israeli attacks. An official briefed on the talks told Reuters. The Iranians have told the mediators that they will only start serious negotiations after they have completed their response to the Israeli attack. So Iran is saying, well, our response is not complete yet. That's another very important thing. Iran said that Israel started this, Netanyahu started this, we will dictate how it ends. Not him. So they need to complete their strikes against Israel. Speaking on the condition of anonymity, he also added that Iran has made it clear that it will not negotiate while it's under attack. Official added that the media reports that Iran asked Oman and Qatar to contact the United States to promote a ceasefire and resume nuclear talks are inaccurate. Of course, that's again part of the psychological warfare that's going on. A lot of psychological warfare, a lot of garbage propaganda coming from the Zionists and their mouthpieces too. Trying to show as if, Iran is begging and Iran is wants to have a ceasefire. To the contrary, we had initial confirmations that Israel was sending people to Iran from allied countries to try and convince them to stop the attacks. And there were other reports that the Iranians told the Americans as well, condemn them first, and then we'll see, which is a strong position, because at the end of the day, from an Iranian perspective, they were talking with the Americans as, well, a gesture of goodwill from Iran. Because it's the United States that withdrew unilaterally from the agreement that they had with Iran. And then they were expecting Iran to adhere by the agreement without them fulfilling their obligations. So arrogant. The United States and European countries, such unbelievable arrogance they've had with Iran. They've negotiated 2 years for a deal, a nuclear deal. The Iranians had their suspicions because they know how treacherous the American authorities are constantly, and other European establishments are always treacherous and very arrogant too. But they spoke with Obama for 2 years. Then there was an agreement for 3 years. Trump came unilaterally withdrew. Why? For Israel, for the Zionists. Either he's such a staunch Zionist or he's compromised. And then he was expecting the Iranians to adhere to the agreement without the United States and its allies adhering to the agreement. After that, well, there were tensions. Now, it was Trump himself reaching out, by the way. Didn't Trump say, oh yeah, I want to be, going down as the man of peace? I want to be remembered as the man who brought peace to the region. He was the one who had this initiative. The Iranians were very skeptical because you're talking about the same man who backstabbed them and withdrew from the agreement for populist reasons. Well, for Zionist reasons. And Lord knows, those Zionist reasons are very serious when it comes to the United States. Now, Israel is confirming now that they're attacking an area called the Malad city in Iran, in the outskirts of the city. That's approximately the third or the fourth round of attacks coming from Israel. Then we've had the recent round that Israel said is coming both from Iran and from Yemen. There was another scene coming from the attack that took place in Ramat Gan. This is a new video that came out just earlier on. Let's have a look at the footage from this video quickly. So that was one of the latest videos that came from the attack on Ramat Gan. Because today, the Iranians, well, the Israelis said that Iran attacked the northern part and the central part. Many attacks came in and around the Haifa area, while other attacks came on different areas in the southern parts of occupied Palestine. And if you're joining us now for the live stream, thank you very much for joining me for another live stream for the third day in a row where I'm covering all of the updates on the Iranian-Israeli war. all of the exchanges, all of the info coming from inside, the videos being published by people inside, other groups too, multiple accounts, multiple sources as well. And thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and everyone participating in the chat. Welcome and thank you very much. Special thanks to everyone also sending supers, much appreciated. Paz F, Lulama, welcome as well. The Canaanite, Amra, Marvin, Bob, Garland, Jam, Soul, Zeshan, Raed, Rizwan, Dino, and Ramsey. Thank you all for your super and your support, much appreciated. And everyone participating as well in the chat, and our moderators as well. Thank you so much for your support and welcome. Now, I'm going to leave you with one of the, and I'm going to continue this live stream, but I'm going to leave you with one of the attacks that took place, one of the videos that was published earlier on from the recent Israeli attacks, and I will come back to continue with you on the latest developments that are happening now with the third and fourth waves of attacks happening and coming from Iran and Yemen, because it's looking like this is going to be another very long night. So this was the latest attack, one of the latest attacks that took place in Haifa.
طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
ولعت الحيفا مش ولعت الحيفا عم تشوف طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
ولعت الحيفا مش ولعت الحيفا عم تشوف طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
ولعت الحيفا مش ولعت الحيفا عم تشوف طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
ولعت الحيفا مش ولعت الحيفا عم تشوف طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
ولعت الحيفا مش ولعت الحيفا عم تشوف طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
ولعت الحيفا مش ولعت الحيفا عم تشوف طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
ولعت الحيفا مش ولعت الحيفا عم تشوف طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
ولعت الحيفا مش ولعت الحيفا عم تشوف طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
ولعت الحيفا مش ولعت الحيفا عم تشوف طلع هون طلع هون
طلع هذاك صبوش
بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل بطل زيت الله ولعت العيد وشرب ولعت العيد عم تسوق بس عندنا طلع هون طلع هون انت تصحى ايه فوق طلع طلع عمو ما نزل 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 عرفك نزل طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش نزل نزل طلع ولعت العيفه شرب ولعت العيفه عم تفوق بس احنا طلع هون طلع هون انت توسخ العيفه طلع 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 نزل 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 عرفك نزل
طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش
نزل نزل طلع ولعت العيفه شرب ولعت العيفه عم تفوق بس احنا طلع هون طلع هون انت توسخ العيفه طلع 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 نزل 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 عرفك نزل
طلع وضعك صبوش وضعك صبوش
نزل نزل طلع ولعت العيفه شرب ولعت العيفه عم تفوق بس احنا
Okay, guys, thank you for staying with me and everyone who's joining us now. There has been a massive breach that has now been reported in Israel because a couple of minutes ago, actually, there were confirmations coming from Israel that sirens were heard and they were preparing everyone for a third wave. But what happened is Iran actually had a breach and they are now activating the sirens coming in Israel when they want. So this is circulating on social media. Again, Israel is not confirming this, but this is coming from multiple reports that Iran is now managing to control Israel's sirens whenever it wants, basically. And there was a video just published now coming about the damage, the level of damage that one of the Iranian missiles caused in Haifa. Let's have a look. So again, this video is just coming out now from an uncensored channel on Telegram in Israel about one of the missiles landing in Haifa, and look at the huge hole that it's causing. So Iran is clearly using some really serious missiles in its attacks, and if they're confirming that these are only their previous generation missiles, then what's going to come is far more serious. So the latest things that happened just now, Israel was expecting a missile attack from Yemen and from Iran, but Iran now hacked the Israeli siren system and is able to activate Israeli sirens as and when it wants. This is extremely serious. Why? Because if Iran is able to control the Israeli sirens, that means people, and also the Israeli security, they will be thinking that something is going to land. But if they see that sirens are being activated and nothing is happening, they will feel more relaxed about not taking protective measures and go and hide. Therefore, that would risk having more casualties in Israel due to the attacks that are coming from Iran. Now, despite that, there were already problems with sirens, by the way. Many reports that are coming from Israel are saying that sometimes the missiles land and then they hear the sirens, or there's a very big gap between the sirens and when the missiles land. Why? Because Iran is using different missiles. Some of them have different speeds. 6 or 8 Mach is different to 13, 14, or 18 or 20 Mach. Therefore, shortening the level of time required for the missile to come from Iran to Israel. That can also give people a false sense of confidence. And they would feel like, okay, well, we can actually stay outside or whatever. But then either the missile doesn't land or it lands. And that's something very, very effective in any attacks that Iran conducts on Israel. If they're playing with the siren system, or because they're using missiles that have different speeds, then the Israelis would think, oh, that missile, or nothing is happening now, because Iran used a faster missile, for example, 16 Mach. Whereas other missiles will have, like, I don't know, some missiles like 10 minutes, 9 minutes, and some 4, 5, or 6 minutes. So that's very, very serious. And again, this is the damage that one of the Iranian missiles caused in Haifa that landed earlier on, being published by Israeli accounts on Telegram. Mandy also just shared with me an article. Thank you for sharing that, Mandy. This is just what we're talking about now. Published in the Jerusalem Post about these cyber attacks. And Israel confirming that. Let's have a look at this article. Thank you, Mandy, for sharing this, and anyone who's sharing some of these articles with me. So this was the article over here. 700% spike in cyber attacks on Israel since strike on Iran. Government websites, financial institutions, telecommunication companies, and critical infrastructure are among the variety of targets for the attacks. That's confirming what we were just speaking about. Thank you again, Mandy, for sharing that with me. And this was published just earlier on. There was 700% increase in cyber attacks against Israel over the past 2 days compared to the time period before June 12th, cybersecurity firm Radware said on Sunday. The data indicates that a significant escalation in malicious network activity targeting Israeli infrastructure. The 700% surge in malicious activity within just 2 days stems from cyber retaliation operations by the Iranian state actors and pro-Iranian hacker groups, including DDoS attacks, infiltration attempts targeting critical infrastructure, data theft, and malware distribution campaigns, said Ron Mehran, Vice President of Cyber Threat Intelligence at Radware. One very interesting thing, by the way, today, there was a leaked document coming from Iranian accounts of all of the Israeli pilots participating in the attack against Iran, proving that these things are very serious. So if Iran has the identity of those people, I believe I have this document, I'll share it with you shortly, that was circulating on social media. The increase in attacks observed by Radware occurred shortly after the news of Israel's strikes on Iran became public, the firm said, adding that it saw an increase in activity by threat actors aligned with Iran on public and private Telegram channels. Iranian state-sponsored groups are expected to intensify their operations as well. And these operations are aimed at disrupting infrastructure and psychological influence, the firm said. Government websites, financial institutions, and telecommunication companies' critical infrastructure are among the variety of targets of the attacks. So that's again confirming that Iran has a very effective and aggressive as well campaign targeting vital Israeli infrastructure to make their attacks more effective against Israel. Now, we were speaking earlier about the Iranian state getting support from countries. And this was one of the articles that I actually wanted to share with you of the Saudi position in particular. It was published on RT about the position of Saudi Arabia. And why do I mention it? Because Israel, again, failed miserably with the diplomatic way, with PR, trying to sell this and trying to get a coalition done. And this was the article that I wanted to share with you here about the Saudi position with them. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman affirmed in a phone call with the Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on Saturday evening that the kingdom stands with Iran and all the people of the Islamic world in solidarity with Tehran. Remember also the Iranian foreign minister confirmed that Saudi was the first country that called Iran to show support. Again, this is a huge failure because Iran, Israel and the United States were always striving for this divide and rule policy in the Arab and Muslim world, you know, sectarian and racism and what have you, try and form a coalition with Saudi Arabia against Iran. But things started to deteriorate with time, especially in the 2023 agreement. Saudi Crown Prince said all the peoples of the Islamic world today are united in their support for Iran, and that he seeks through all his diplomatic efforts to exert international pressure to halt the Zionist entity's aggression. This was reported by the Tasnim news agency. Bin Salman strongly condemned the Zionist entity's unjust attacks against Iran. And he also had talks, by the way, with Donald Trump too. He expressed his deepest condolences and solidarity with the Iranian people for the victims of these attacks, stressing that Saudi Arabia stands firmly with its brothers in the Islamic Republic and that the Islamic world today is united in its voice and position in support of Iran. He continued, "We believe that Israel is seeking, by escalating tensions, to draw the United States into the heart of the conflict, but we are confident that Iran's balanced and rational response will thwart these attempts." There's a backing to that because Iran so far only targeted Israel. They haven't touched any of the United States bases. Iran isn't interested in expanding. They only want it to be between them and Israel, but they also want to punish Israel. And they will be the ones dictating how this ends. Bin Salman also stressed that his country would not hesitate to provide any necessary support to its brothers in Iran. So alongside Pakistan, Saudi Arabia offering the support for Iran. This is important. Saudi Arabia is a country that Benjamin Netanyahu was seeking to have a peace treaty with and include in the exceptionally dodgy and corrupt Abraham Accords. These things are called Abraham Accords falsely as well, you know, it's Abraham Accords, all of that nonsense. The Iranian president expressed his deep gratitude for the fraternal communication from the Saudi Crown Prince and the sincere operation from the custodian of the two holy mosques and the relevant authorities in Saudi Arabia in providing services to pilgrims to the house of God. The attacks launched by the Zionist entity against our country once again confirm its aggressive nature, Pezeshkian added, explaining that since assuming the presidency, he has sought to establish peace and stability in the region, but this entity has been constantly working to obstruct any Iranian achievement in various fields, He added that strengthening unity and brotherhood among Islamic countries is the best way to confront Israeli crimes, particularly in the Gaza Strip. And he called on the kingdom to play a pivotal role in unifying Islamic ranks to defend the rights of the Muslim peoples, expressing his hope that efforts will come together to spread security and peace in the region. This is, again, a very significant shift from previous years, previous attempts as well coming from Israel and the United States to have Saudi Arabia and Iran go against each other. And again, these were images of the recent attacks coming from Iran on Israel. Now, we spoke about the sirens coming and the fact that there is a cyber attack. Israeli media is now saying that no missile has been launched yet in the past half an hour, to clarify that what happened is a cyber attack or a psychological warfare from Iran against us. Other Israeli media is saying we were tricked, we were fooled. No missile was launched from Iran yet, despite the sirens and millions going to shelters. This is very important. Israel is also saying now that Jordan intercepted a drone coming from Iran. This is at least the third interception coming from Jordan. Jordan is the only country that publicly declares that it's intercepting missiles and projectiles and drones coming from Iran against Israel. Yesterday, they caused a lot of damage to Jordanian properties, debunking the whole claim of Jordan that they are intercepting so that they can protect Jordanians. And as a matter of fact, confirming that they value the Israeli lives more than they do Jordanian lives. And now Israel is saying that Jordan is intercepting more. Now, more updates coming in about sounds of attacks coming from Iran. There were reports that there were explosions in Tehran just about 15 minutes ago. And in Iran, they're confirming that these were sounds of the Iranian air defense systems intercepting Israeli targets. And again, Israel is using a wide range of weapons against Iran, unlike previous traditional Israeli approach in relation to attacks. They're using drones, they're using UAVs, they're using cruise missiles alongside fighter jets. But clearly the larger percentage is drones, UAVs, and projectiles rather than the actual fighter jets, to try and protect their pilots and their fighter jets as much as possible, especially with the huge Iranian move of taking down 3 F-35 fighter jets. And Israel is now telling everyone in the country, whoever can sleep in shelters, please do. The Home Front Command in Israel is telling everyone in the country, if you can sleep in a shelter, please sleep in a shelter. Clearly, they are expecting a very intense night tonight. This was based on official sources close to the head of the Home Front Command in Israel. More important things happened, by the way. Iran declared that it cut its ties with the IAEA. They're no longer trusting them, especially after the appointment of a man who Iran considers to be pro-Zionist. Then with the leaked documents, because I know many things are happening now. All at once, things are happening very quickly. But before the Israeli attack on Iran, Iran declared that it obtained a huge batch of sensitive information from Israel that relates to strategic Israeli strategies, Israeli plans to attack Iran, Israeli information about the Iran's nuclear program, and Israeli communication with senior figures in the IAEA and its representatives in relation to Iran. Then the Israeli attack happened. And despite the fact that the attack happened primarily for the sake of Benjamin Netanyahu's ego and his personal interests, that could be very linked to those leaks too. Because from an Israeli perspective, if they thought that, okay, well, Iran obtained such documents, for example, then let's act quickly before they know any more information. That's quite important. So basically what we have now is Israel confirming that the latest sirens in Israel were false. They're checking if it's a cyber attack because no missiles were monitored to be launched from Iran. And usually what Israel does, by the way, before they warn people, they'll say we have a bunch of missiles coming. So clearly there was something happening there. And now Iran is confirming that its air defense systems completely destroyed multiple Israeli drones in the western area of Tehran. Iranian police also said today, because you know in the beginning there was a report that Israel had already groups based inside of Iran to conduct the initial operation. Today the Iranian police said that they obtained 2,000 kilos of explosives, 30 UAVs or UAV wings, and 33 launchers, and a lot of equipment to produce suicide drones. That clearly shows that Israel prepared for a very long time, and they had operatives planning these attacks internally in Iran for quite a long time. And Iran also targeted enemy UAVs and targets close to Natanz. Israel is trying to target Natanz again, the nuclear facility. So if you're joining us now, thank you for tuning in, covering the latest with the war between Iran and Israel. Israel is just confirming that what happened now in terms of sirens was a false alarm. There were confirmations that Iran had a huge cyber attack, and I shared also an article about the Israelis confirming that there has been a 700% spike in cyber attacks against vital infrastructure, telecommunications, a lot of security breaches since Israel started to attack Iran, which is very significant. But clearly shows that this is not just, you know, just, you know, attack here and there and missiles and what have you. It's also in the cyber arena as well. And this video here that you're watching is from the latest attacks that were carried out on Haifa earlier on.
طلع هون طلع هون
And as you can see, the majority of the missiles are landing without any type of interception. And this was the level of destruction that's coming from Haifa, huge holes next to the buildings. And this here, you can see another documentation of the missile as it landed. Now we were talking about the Wiseman Institute that Iran attacked. And there was an interesting article as well that I wanted to share with you here about this institute and its importance in relation to the Israeli nuclear program as well. Wiseman Institute, Iran destroys Israel's nuclear brain. An Iranian missile strike targeted the Wiseman Institute of Science in Rehovot, south of Tel Aviv, early Sunday morning, one of Israel's most prominent research and scientific centers. And these are, again, images of the attack, confirming that these photos that I published earlier on that were circulating on social media are accurate. The attack resulted in widespread destruction of research laboratories, major fires, and significant damage to the institute's infrastructure. Video clip published by Hebrew media and bloggers documented the moment the Iranian missile targeted the Wiseman Institute. Let's have a look at this video here. So that's the Israeli Wiseman Institute, that is, well, probably the most prominent center, especially in relation to Israel and its nuclear project and nuclear scientists. This is the moment that it was targeted. This institute, they continued here in this article, for advanced scientific research, is among the most famous in Israel. It was founded in 1934 by Chaim Wiseman under the name Daniel Seif Research Institute. It was later expanded and officially declared the Wiseman Institute of Science after Chaim Wiseman, Israel's first president, on November the 2nd, 1949. It currently employs approximately 2,500 Israelis and offers master's and doctoral degrees in mathematics, physics, biology, chemistry, biochemistry, and computer science, as well as other specializations and programs. The institute also includes more than 30 scientific laboratories, a large scientific library, lecture and conference halls, and housing for researchers and staff. And this was the damage of this institute that's considered to be the brain of the Israeli nuclear program. It received significant funding from Jewish communities, Zionist organizations, and international scientific associations, in addition to government support from Israel. Among the scientific research it conducts is in the field of chemicals, manufactured materials, and precision medical devices. The institute has an advanced position in cancer research, treatment, as well as genetic research. So again, that's confirmed here for you. The Wiseman Institute has indeed been completely destroyed. And Israel also declared that fires broke out as well in the area, causing a lot more damage as well. And again, this is another video that I posted earlier on of the Israeli oil and gas fields, particularly Leviathan, being targeted by an Iranian strike. Now, one other thing that I wanted to share with you, there were reports circulating on social media today that Israel tried to target the head of the Hamas, the acting head of the Hamas, head of the political bureau, Khalil al-Hayya in Qatar, and that the Qataris have managed to successfully thwart the attempt. But that is clearly fake news, and there was a confirmation coming from Hamas that wasn't the case. So there was this report here Hamas issues a statement after reports of the assassination of its political bureau chief in Israeli operation. The movement said in a brief statement, Tabayun TV denies the rumors circulating on social media about an assassination attempt of the head of the Hamas movement in the Gaza Strip, our brother and Mujahid Dr. Khalil al-Hayya, in the Qatari capital Doha. In its statement, called on media and social media activists to be accurate in publishing such news and not be swayed by the Hebrew media. Now, the Hebrew media that apparently published this, there wasn't a lot of information about which media outlets were in question, basically. So clearly someone posted this bit of news, and then people were circulating it as if it's a genuine attempt. But that clearly didn't happen. What Israel did do yesterday is that they tried to assassinate, or said that they tried to assassinate, senior figures in the Yemeni Ansarullah, including the chief of staff and also the leader of Ansarullah, Abdul Malik al-Houthi. Ansarullah in Yemen, they also said that that wasn't really the case. Now, so far, in relation to the latest sirens that were heard, the Israeli Home Front Command are saying that you still need to be next to shelters. The order is still valid, according to them. About an hour and a half after the Home Front Command announced to residents in large areas to stay near a protected area, the IDF spokesman emphasized that although no launches had yet been carried out, the instructions were still in effect. And Israeli media is saying, again, that they're attacking the Fordo nuclear facility. No confirmation from Iran. There were reports of Israel trying to attack. There were also confirmations from Iran that they thwarted attempts from Israel to attack Fordo and Natanz too, with Fordo being, by the way, a particularly difficult place. That's why Israel is asking the United States to help it with bunker busters and heavy bombers so they can attack these places. But according to multiple sources, the United States is denying Israel access or refusing to allow Israel to attack them. And also, there was a report as well that the United States President, Donald Trump, he rejected a plan of Israel to kill the supreme leader, according to US officials. How accurate that is, I'm not really convinced, because Donald Trump has proven himself to be a huge liar, a man who is inconsistent, egocentric, and he previously stated many things and did a 180. So, but really, can you take anything seriously from what he says? Oh, I haven't given them the green light to go into that. Well, he said before Israel attacked Iran, I haven't given Israel the green light to attack Iran. But Israel went against that. The only thing that he said or did is withdraw and carry out some evacuations. Diplomatic staff, some bases, military personnel, and families. He asked them to leave the region from 2 days before Israel started to attack. That was kind of giving Iran a hint, by the way. But then despite that, Israel still went ahead with the attack, which proves that, well, Donald Trump, he doesn't really have a say. Now, sources, despite the fact that this attack that we were waiting for, that I was telling you about, appeared to be a false alarm in Israel, part of a cyber attack coming from Iran, because there were reports that Iran intercepted and took control over and hacked the Israeli alarm systems and siren systems and huge telecommunications and vital structures to infrastructure in Israel. Israel's still saying you need to be close to shelters. There were statements coming from senior analysts in Iran that, there's going to be some surprises, prepare for more surprises tonight. Yet, despite that, we still haven't seen anything coming from Iran or Yemen, because Israel said that there's an attack coming both from Israel and Yemen. Now, one important thing that also happened today is Netanyahu's confirmation that there's a breakthrough in the talks in Gaza, but there were other unconfirmed reports that Israel started to withdraw forces from the Gaza Strip, and that they're deploying them on the borders with Lebanon, Syria, and across the borders with Jordan. This is coming simultaneously with Israel's declaration that Iran is now the first front. Iran is no longer like a secondary front or, just another front. And that's happening for the first time in the past 2 years. Usually, throughout all of this time, Israel was considering Gaza to be the main front, but now Gaza is not the main front in the current escalation. And again, thank you everyone for joining me in another live stream. We're covering all of the latest developments of the war between Israel and Iran. Angela Brody, Golden Sun, Rob, Palestine, Pine, Clutch, Abadan, Rabs, Paz Tribe, F, and everyone else that I mentioned before as well. And sorry if I missed anyone too. Thank you so much for your supers and participation in the chat. And if you're joining us now, welcome. If you're new to my channel, I'm updating you on the latest developments that are happening now between Israel and Iran. Usually, I will also have videos that are being, cut from my live streams and segments. But in the past couple of days, because of the nature of events that are happening, most of my information is coming in prolonged live streams. And hopefully at one point we can go back to the videos too. But if you've been following me for a long time, or if you're following me now, most of the information that I will be giving you will be in these live streams, both about the current updates and the updates that happened throughout the day. And I think we'll wrap the live stream here. If there would be anything significant, I might come back later on, but so far it looks like the main events are out of the way for today and tonight. Iran, for the first time today, carried out strikes during the day. That's the first time since this latest escalation began. The targets were the northern part of occupied Palestine and the southern part too. Iran targeted major Israeli gas and oil fields. Israel declared that it completely halted the production of oil and gas, especially after the attack on the oil refineries in Haifa yesterday. And there were reports that Israel internally supplies 60% of what it produces in terms of gas and oil, which is a significant number, by the way. So it's exceptionally important. The Rafael complex has been targeted heavily by Iran, which is a key component in the Israeli military-industrial complex. And Iran is managing to hack a very crucial infrastructure in Israel. And so far, it looks like it's going to be an ongoing conflict, and I will hopefully be with you daily with this live stream that will include all of the information that I've been talking about. So again, if you follow me and follow all of the updates, please do join the live stream. In the meantime, thank you so much everyone who participated with me in this live stream, another live stream in the chat. Thank you for everyone who sent supers and supports. If you want to support my channel, you can also become a member or go to my links below to support our work. In the meantime, again, thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your evening, day, or night, depending on where you are. Stay blessed, and I will see you soon in the next live stream. Peace, everyone. Salam.